So I just finished reading parts 3 and 4 of Crime and Punishment. Originally, I thought there were 5 parts, but apparently there are 6 parts, and there's an epilogue as well. I don't know anything about the book. I don't know how it ends or anything, but I only stopped at part 4. Part 3 opens up where part 2 left off, which is when Marmeladov passes away, gets trampled by a horse and dies, and part 3 opens up with Raskolnikov going back into his apartment to seeing his mother and sister waiting for him over there. Previously, Raskolnikov had just uh, acquired the money that the mother sent for him, and he unfortunately spent it all on. He gave it to the family of Marmeladov in order to pay for the funeral. Again, a while ago, I was saying in the last video, I was kind of confused by his sort of weird. For some reason, he is very empathetic for the family of Marmeladov, and he's very kind to them, as while he is very cold and unforgiving and mean. He's pretty mean to everyone else in the book. And it's interesting, I guess. I'm trying to figure out. So as I'm talking about the book, I'm just trying to process my own thoughts about it, so I can have a better sense of what I think about it. I realized later on I made a mistake. I was reading a little bit about Crime and Punishment online and trying not to get too spoiled about it, but I came upon something that said that Raskolnikov actually killed the woman because he wanted to. It was the Robin Hood thing. He wanted to get the money, and he thought the money would be of use to other people or something. And when I thought before that was a mistake. I thought that he was just overhearing a conversation and not necessarily agreeing with it. But I went back to the passage, and he does say that the conversation of the soldiers saying that it would be nice to kill Katerina Ivanovna. He said that he thought all those thoughts as well. I forgot the exact quote, but he does say that those exact same thoughts were going through his own head. So perhaps that was the reason why he killed her. But then it's very bizarre because it doesn't seem like he really has a lot of empathy for anyone else apart from the family of Marmeladov, specifically Sonia, the daughter. And he loves his family. He loves his mother and sister, but he doesn't really seem like he cares about other people apart from those. He doesn't seem to care about society. If one is to argue that Raskolnikov did kill this woman because he genuinely felt like he could save other people or give the money off to other people, or he genuinely felt bad for Katerina Ivanovna's sister who was kind of abused, you could look to that passage and say that that was his real reason to kill the woman, but I don't believe it. I don't buy it. I don't think he actually does care, at least based on my reading of it. He doesn't seem like he actually cares about anyone else. So I'm still kind of confused. I still don't understand why he kills her. In this chapter 3 and 4, not chapter 3 and 4, but in parts 3 and 4, we get more into more characters are being introduced. He finally meets the man who I can't say his name. It's also with an S. It's like Drigailov. He meets the guy who once seduced or tried to seduce his Raskolnikov's sister and ended up getting into a rift with his wife. We meet him and he offers Danya and the family 10,000 rubles. Anyway, I'm not gonna go too much into the plot of what's been happening so far, but just genuinely, it's just that Raskolnikov is still in midst of. He feels a lot of. I don't know if he feels guilt per se, but he feels something. Something is off within him, and he feels like he needs some kind of sense of mind. And I'm not sure exactly where he's moving towards in his sense of mind, but he feels like he mentions it quite a bit. He seems like he wants to kill himself, or at least he wants to leave somewhere and go somewhere else. But it sounds like he wants to kill himself, and he seems like he wants to also kill Sonia, or he wants Sonia to kill herself. He tries to. This is very bizarre. I guess the most bizarre thing of the last 2 parts that has really struck me was the conversation he has with Sonia. With Sonia, when he goes to her apartment, Sonia's a prostitute. She was the daughter of Marmeladov, and she has been living as a prostitute for the last several years and has been paying for a lot of the Marmeladov's and the families and her step sisters and her stepmother's family stuff. She's been paying for it through prostitution. There is very much. I guess when you think of the idea of in Catholicism, or even just the idea of the horror, the angel. Is it the angel and the whore, the saint and the whore? The idea that a woman is either one or the other. And in this book, she seems to occupy both things. She is looked up to by Raskolnikov. He kisses her foot, just like in a very biblical sense. He leans down and kisses her foot, but then he seems to have some kind of contempt for her. Not necessarily contempt, but he seems to just be very confused at her intentions. and we get to this section where he confronts her. This is after he says goodbye to his family. He goes to her, and then he confronts her, and then he asks her to read the passage of the Bible for Lazarus, and Lazarus is where a man is brought back to life or something. I was kind of confused by the part. I wasn't exactly sure because especially according to the footnotes, apparently, Dostoyevsky was supposed to be, or at least Raskolnikov was trying to. Where the purpose of the passage was that, Sonia is supposed to be herself. She's supposed to see herself in the space in the character of Lazarus in the Bible, and that's supposed to be where she feels most. She resonates most with, and that's supposed to be her character. This person who I guess is a sinner who eventually is to get brought back to life by Jesus. I guess he was a good guy or something. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe he gets for forgiveness and he gets brought back to life. To be honest, my memory of Lazarus and the story is not very clear. And based on the passages, I wasn't exactly sure about the direct. I have to read more about what other people have said about this because I was kind of confused about why she was Lazarus. I guess because she sacrificed herself, maybe, and maybe I'm not sure exactly if it's the idea that when she, at some point, she will get saved by God or by Jesus, and she will be like Lazarus. She'll be resurrected from the dead, and she will, maybe not literally, but then she will be forgiven. All her good deeds in life will be, despite her sin, besides being a sinner, all her other good deeds will make up for it, and she will eventually be saved or something, maybe in the afterlife or in heaven or some sort. So I guess that's the connection with Lazarus, but anyway, so it's interesting because Raskolnikov doesn't really seem like he feels guilty for killing, what's her name again? I keep forgetting her name. She is for killing Alyona Ivanovna. I feel like a while ago I might have been mistakenly calling her Katerina Ivanovna. Katerina Ivanovna is actually the wife of Marmeladov. I might have been making some mistakes earlier, but Alyona is the pawnbroker who he murders. Alyona Ivanovna, he seems like he doesn't really care that he kills her, but he doesn't seem to really ponder that much about the repercussions of killing her. He doesn't seem to really think much about the money that supposedly would have been spent to save other people, or he doesn't really seem to think about those things. He thinks more about right now he's mostly just considering, I think he's just thinking about himself and how he can extricate himself from the situation he's in. He at the end of the part 5, he meets this, he's in the office of Petrovich. I think right now we've probably already met all the characters. There's so many characters in this book. Petrovich is Porfiry Petrovich is the chief investigator. He's the guy in charge of trying to figure out who's the murderer of Alyona Ivanovna, and he goes to his office, and there's a weird thing. They have a weird mind games with each other, and it's hard to really tell what is going on. But at Porfiry, it seems as this bizarre mind game. He's trying to get Raskolnikov to break down and make himself admit to something or give some evidence of some sort. He's trying to do some mind game with Raskolnikov because he suspects Raskolnikov is the murderer, and then suddenly this guy, one of the workers who has been in custody for a while, ends up coming into his room and just admitting that he was the Mikolai. Admits that he was the killer, which obviously he wasn't. We know Raskolnikov killed, but the Mikolai comes in and admits that he's the murderer. That's where the chapter ends, and Raskolnikov is filled with relief that he will not be bothered with anymore. I guess that was why he feels relief. But he feels like, at this point, well, eventually it's gonna come back to me anyway. But for the meantime, I'm going to get some relief. It's hard to really tell where the book is gonna go because, again, it seems like he wants to leave the world, and he seems to be pushing to Sonia, pushing the idea that she should be killing herself because she should be. Like, the suffering that she's suffering, the suffering she's undergoing doesn't seem to be, like, enough. Or it doesn't seem to actually be giving that much benefit to the people around her, according to Raskolnikov. He's trying to get her to stop believing in God. He's trying to get her to consider suicide even more and go on with it. And I think Raskolnikov wants to kill himself as well, or at least just leave. He goes to the bridge. One time he actually witnesses a woman jumping off the bridge, killing herself. And he seems to be contemplating it as well. And there are references throughout the novel of him talking about jumping off somewhere or just saying goodbye permanently to some people, like his family and all that. It's a very dour book to read. I am enjoying it because I'm fascinated with Raskolnikov as a character. I don't seem to understand him, and I'm trying to understand him more. The only bright part of the book is Razumikin, who is his friend who is really a good like counterbalance. You know, Razumikin's very nice. He seems to have a crush on Raskolnikov's sister, and he's trying to be very close with the family. The thing about Razumikin, perhaps, that you can maybe argue as a criticism. He's like the perfect character. He's a perfect best friend. He's so nice that there doesn't seem to be anything negative about him. He's just super nice. He'll do whatever he wants. He'll do whatever will be to the benefit of Raskolnikov. He's like the perfect friend who will never even question Raskolnikov. But actually, okay, so there's a point in this novel where, as Razumikin and Raskolnikov looks into each other's eyes, to where after Raskolnikov says goodbye to his family, there's an insinuation that Raskolnikov is able to convey that he's the murderer to Razumikin through the eye contact, which I think is interesting. But okay, one of the things I have to talk about, which just in general that I've been realizing with the book, but it hasn't really been sinking in. But I've been thinking about it more, is that the book often speaks in future tense, or it speaks in like a past tense. It speaks as if things with Raskolnikov have happened in the past. There's lines. It's just very Dostoyevsky kind of. There's once in a while you get a line saying something like, Raskolnikov will remember this for the rest of his life, or something like that. You know, he'll say something like Raskolnikov, or in the future, looking back on this memory, this character will think this way about this thing. So there is some sense in which the narration is sometime further into the future, which I guess would kind of give clues to the outcome of some of the characters. So it's maybe Raskolnikov doesn't kill himself because there are lines where he says something like, you know, when the time where he has eye-to-eye contact with Razumikin, it's either Razumikin or Raskolnikov, but there's a line in which saying that memory will forever stay with Raskolnikov, that a minute of silence will stay with him forever, or something like that. And the insinuation with that is that Raskolnikov lives to a certain point in which the novel is being narrated, because the narration is actually third person omniscient, so it's coming from this god kind of person godlike creature who not godlike, it's like, you know, omniscience is, so there's like a third person omniscience in which the narration knows what's going through everyone's mind. So sometimes we'll hear something being said, and we'll hear when it'll go back and forth within what's actually what's happening within the mind of one of the characters. It's Raskolnikov is the main character, but not everything is in his perspective, because we also get some stuff from the family members or whenever he's gone, especially with Razumikin and with the family. You know, I guess if I were to guess what would happen, it's possible, I think, that Sonia I think she might just accept the 10,000 rubles. I mean, if what the guy is saying is genuine, then it wouldn't hurt just accepting the money, and then she can live happily. Razumikin will probably end up with her, I guess. Maybe the mom, I don't know, she'll probably be sad that Raskolnikov's gonna go away somewhere. I think that's what's gonna happen. He's gonna go somewhere, and then we'll never find out where he goes, or he killed himself, or some kind of vague insinuation that whether he might kill himself, or it might just, it might not even matter. So right at the point, I'm kind of guess what's gonna happen in the book, but overall, I'm really enjoying it, I think, and while it's very dour to read, and it's kind of puts you in a weird state of mind where you feel very, I guess it put me in a state of being raving mad as well, just like Raskolnikov. Throughout the whole novel, he's kind of a little bit crazy, and it manifests a lot in his illness, for example. But yeah, so it's over the last few days while reading this book, I feel like I've been in some kind of hypnotic daze where my life has surrounded reading the book, and whenever I'm not reading the book, it's just percolating in my head what's happening in the story, and then when I have enough energy, I'm gonna go back to the book and continue. But I feel like I haven't really been able to do other things that, with the full amount of attention I might have because of this book. It's really been overtaking my consciousness and my memories and my dreams and all of this stuff. So I'm really enjoying the book, and I'm also enjoying just finishing it so I can get on with my life. But it's a great book so far. It's very well written and very well elucidated, and this is a great translation. Again, it's by Oliver Reedy. The cover looks like this, Penguin Classics, and I'm gonna start reading part 5 soon, and finish the book hopefully within the weekend. So